Good morning. So I call myself a coach. I see myself as a coach. I've done a lot of coaching in football, and I've always had my players stress the basics. We could do the basics well as we would in games. So in football, I was a line coach. If my men could block and tackle, we'd win games. In hockey, if our teams pass, skate, shoot, check well, we're successful. And I think the same is true of relationships. You know, if couples can do the basics well, much better chance to have the kind of relationship they want. So what are the basics? Well, I outlined four. The first is safety. And I don't mean physical safety because it has to be a given, but if psychological and emotional safety. Okay? Secondly, think of your relationship as not just the two of you, but the two of you and the space between you. It's a real energy field, and you have to keep all negativity out of that space between, because the negativity causes disconnect, and your whole goal is to connect. So the flip side of that is then to fill the space between with positives, affirmations, appreciations, and to say those out loud. And lastly, couples have to learn to talk to each other in a safe way about anything. Because again, it goes back to number one, if you don't feel safe, you'll defend yourself. So let's go back to these four and look a little bit more closely. I've stressed safety for years, and the reason for me is if you look at the human brain, we all have what they call the brain stem. All animals have a brain stem. Birds, fish, mammals, reptiles. It goes back 500 million years. You're not going to change it. And scientists tell us our brain stem is very similar to the brain stem of all animals. Its basic function is to keep us alive. It asks the question, is it dangerous or is it safe? And if it's dangerous, it'll defend itself. It's 500 million years. You're not going to change it. Secondly, quantum theory tells us that everything is connected. We're all in relationship. And so nothing exists on its own. So think of the space between. It's a real energy field, isn't it? And you can tell when there's tension in the space between. Couples have no problem telling me it's either tension-free or it's not. There's no middle ground. All right? Pardon me. Sorry. So your task is to keep the space between free of any negativity, because the negativity causes disconnect. And again, the flip side of that is to refill that space between with positives, with appreciations, affirmations. Hey, and say those out loud, because again, from my partner's point of view, if I'm constantly hearing, hey, thanks a lot, you did a great job, my old brain can relax. That's not the enemy over there, it's my ally. We're on the same team. We're in this together. Because if you put negativity in there, the negativity causes anxiety. If you feel anxious, you don't feel safe. So the last one is that you have to learn to talk to each other in a safe way. Remember the caveat for number two about the negativity, it's the person on the receiving end who determines whether it's negative or not. You know? Because I might say something or do something or act in a certain way that I think is okay, but if my partner experiences it as negativity or as negative, then we have to talk about it. And there's always going to be stuff to talk about because you're two individuals. We all have our own quirks and quirks, our own idiosyncrasies. So the tool or the skill I teach in the office is what we call the intentional dialogue process, or now called safe conversations process. And it's made up of those three parts: to mirror, to validate, and have empathy. And I know it's a structured approach. I know it can seem tedious. I know it feels awkward at the start, but the structure ensures safety. All right? Because if I don't feel safe, I'll defend. And the structure takes things out of the power struggle. It doesn't make, the power struggle tends to be, I'm right, you're wrong. And so the mirroring and the validation simply make sure I hear my partner and then validate it makes sense. That's how you would see it. It doesn't make them right and me wrong. It's just a different approach. All right? So again, go back to number one. If you don't feel safe, you'll defend yourself. So the structure of the intentional dialogue process, the safe conversation process, ensures safety. All right? So that I can talk to my partner in a safe way. So again, this is not rocket science, as I tell people, but try doing these basics for a week or a month and see if it makes a difference. All right? Anyway, have a great day. See you next week.